towards social workers, including whilst the children were present during their inquiries. And then there's the particular incident on the 19th of September, which I know was disputed by Mr. Howson, where he was saying that he would kill the social worker and would take steps to ensure that him and the children stayed together forever, and wouldn't explain that further to the social worker.
Those are the sorts of assertions the court would have to investigate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a separate issue, Your Honour, of the likelihood of sexual harm. The facts that the local authority relies on there are, first of all, I think this element is accepted by the father, that he doesn't have contact with his two elder sons because of his refusal to believe allegations they'd made against their paternal uncle of sexual abuse. And secondly, there were findings in proceedings against that same paternal uncle of failure to protect his son.
The children have alleged that the father's brother sexually abused them.
Older children not within these proceedings, not adults.
Sorry, they're older children of this father.
Yes.
And they've alleged against whom?
An uncle, yes. This father.
Their father's brother.
Yes. Right. That he sexually abused them.
And this father doesn't.
He refused to believe that.
Children's allegation.
Yes, within private law proceedings, and his refusal to accept that led to him then having no contact with them. There is a finding in separate public law proceedings against that same uncle with respect to a failure to protect his son from the risk of sexual harm.
So, of course, it's decided in private law proceedings, but this father, the best interest of his older children, should have contact with them.
Yes.
Because a risk is identified of this father bringing those children again into contact.
Yes.
With the
yes.
brother.
Yes. The pertinent thing for these and the pertinent thing for these proceedings is that this father has refused to discuss any risk of sexual harm to these children arising from any contact with the wider paternal family.
You're saying a finding has been made against this uncle?
Yes.
In public law proceedings?
Yes. But it's in the bundle. Those proceedings were released into these, and I've referenced that in a special document. So that is the separate area that the local authority points to, which would need to be litigated if disputed. So that's what the local authority says to the father in terms of threshold in answer to your last question.
Issues about threshold now. Yeah. So what are the plans? And how is that communicated?
The plans are for all three children to remain in the care of their mother, subject to supervision orders. The plan is for the girls to be allowed unsupervised contact with their father, but for Harry's contact for the time being to remain supervised as it has been by his mother. The local authority, and can I say, Your Honour, that I have not had an opportunity this morning to fully read the care plans. I've had them explained to me by the social worker, so I don't have a good grasp of the fine detail, but I understand they set out work that is proposed to be done with the girls and with Harry. Firstly, to move the girls to a situation where they might have overnight stay in contact with their father, and also so that Harry's contact might move to unsupervised contact, and the aspiration over the course of a 12-month supervision order is that certainly the girls, if not all three children, might move to effectively a shared care arrangement as between the father and the mother. What the local authority wants from the father in order to move towards that is the type of engagement that the local authority says has been lacking hitherto, to do work with him around risks to the girls arising from maternal family members and so forth, as I've already outlined.
So, if we get this right, you're asserting against Mr. Howson that he is likely to be a cause of significant harm, any sexual harm to his children, because he doesn't accept the risk posed by his own brother.
Yeah.
And other children of his don't get to see him because the court has decided they are at risk and the father who doesn't accept them. That the uncle is at risk of sexual harm.
Yeah.
I'm struggling therefore to see why we can't have a plan for these girls, Stephanie and Katie, receive their father unsupervised in the state.
The social worker's view is that the girls in particular have developed a high degree of resilience to some of the mental health issues. In terms of the risk of sexual harm, the social workers are confident that work has already been done and can continue to be done with them
Self-protection.
to protect themselves against that risk.
Harry? Is he not going for unsupervised contact?
Not for the that's
Your plan.
not for the time being within the local authority's care plans, no. But that is something that the local authority does look to work towards.
So is that difficulty going to be resolved within a year? The maximum life of the supervision order, subject to the power of the court to extend on application.
Well, I suppose anyone can say that it will be resolved within a year. It is the local authority's intention to try to achieve that, and of course there is the option, if it couldn't be achieved within a year, to renew a supervision order on 2 consecutive occasions. So there is significant scope to elongate the period of the local authority's involvement.
All right, well, that's enough for you. Thank you. What does the mother say about the, she acknowledges the court has the power to make a supervision order?
She does.
She accepts thresholds crossed.
She accepts thresholds crossed. And
Does she agree with the plans for the children?
yes, I mean, to say she's been confused over the last 3 or 4 weeks is the understatement, because she has responded to the original care plan, which provided for them to remain in her care. And I have to say, part of her statement was some concern that the local authorities were not going to continue to be involved with assistance in relation to
The early plan was
to
just that
contact.
she take a residence order or something.
Yes.
Or in Calvary.
Yes, and
The
I think she was concerned that the local authority might well walk away and leave her to it. And I haven't had the opportunity of talking to her about the care plan, but she literally handed just as we came in. I don't anticipate that she would be opposing the supervision order. The court felt that was the appropriate way forward. There are some very serious practical difficulties with this mother, though. She's currently living with the children in accommodation in the tenancy
Oh, yes,
in Mr. Hanson's name. Mr. Hanson's indicated that that's not a situation he can tolerate. She needs to find alternative accommodation, so we need some assistance there from the local authority. Relying, I think, on the original plans of the local authority and now their current plans, she has reduced from the 1st of March her hours at work. She's going to therefore have a significant reduction in her income. I'm afraid she sees the prospect that this case is going to progress longer than the timetable that we had originally had.
I'm not sure it is yet.
That it would give her serious concern, that's all I'd say. In terms of responding to the care plan, there's little that we would need to do that we haven't already done. So I don't respond to those plans.
Taking on board as I do the fact that the father doesn't even accept, the court will have jurisdiction, make a supervision order. Beyond that, the arrangements for the 2 children. Family father's case is about the outcome of the children.
I have an opportunity to take into relation to this document that was provided this morning. The father's position throughout all of these proceedings, and I have to confirm it, that he will seek the children live with him on his own. He wishes to return to his home.
Right. I just said right, which
Sorry.
indicates I'm following what you're saying.
Sorry. He wishes to return back home. He would ideally like to see a strict resolution to this issue so that he can get back home and put him temporarily in a caravan at the moment. His case has always been in relation to the threshold of this system and the fact that I raised this for your mother to perhaps consider. He's never had a full picture of what the allegations against the two brothers are. The threshold that is referred to as a finding in relation to Carl, brother, Carl, was an agreed threshold. The plan was for the children not to live with Carl. There was a children to remain within.
Carl is your client's brother.
Yes, we've got Carl, Mark, and Andrew. Those are the three brothers. My chap's Andrew, and the two brothers are Carl and Mark. There are concerns about both.
Right.
Carl,
Carl has admitted something in public law proceedings.
in public law proceedings about himself, but in public law proceedings he also accepts that Mark might be an issue. But those findings, it was SIF. I think we're at about F27. Those findings were an agreed threshold. So when we're talking about the risk of
Well, he was either admitting that you committed some sexual misbehaviour or he wasn't.
not in relation to Mark, forgive me. This is what I'm saying. In relation to Carl, my client can reflect and take on board the concerns about Carl, because Carl's position in those proceedings is, if it was a third man, I dispute it, but if it was a third person, I can accept those risks. So that's Carl. So obviously, my client can reflect. In relation to Mark, Carl has said, I accept that there could be a risk in relation to Mark, but there were no findings made in relation to Mark. And my client's position has always been, he doesn't have a full picture of what the allegations in relation to
I'm
Mark
not
are.
understanding this. Carl, who is Andrew House's brother, has accepted that he poses a risk to somebody.
Yes.
But he can only have accepted that he poses a risk to someone by virtue of accepting what it is that provides the source of that risk. Do you know what he was accepting he had done? Indeed, he should be regarded as a risk to them.
It was
I wonder if it helps, Mr. Brown's threshold document, paragraph 7, sets out exactly what it was that these gentlemen accepted or didn't.
So Mark Howson, Carl was accepting that one of the children had seen sexual images with his paternal uncle Mark. That's as I read that.
Yes, sure. All right. But that was the issue. Mark never been tested on the issue. That was in relation to the threshold.
And I'm going to all this because I've read somewhere that the final hearing, which I think is listed as at risk. So far, I've heard nothing. What's the final hearing at risk? Everyone can have their say in the witness box, and I'll decide.
I've raised
But
because
anyway, Father says the case should come through with restoration of the status quo as it was last summer. The children back with him.
exactly,
And he would go back into the accommodation
and the children were
where
raised.
mother's currently living.